This
Morning, everyone.
conference will now be recorded.
So, good morning, everyone. Thanks to all of you for being here this morning. As you all know, today's topic is lumbar disc prolapse. For that, we are welcome our speaker, presenter, mentor, Vaidya Hetal Kirkar, a very special guest from Maharashtra. She is a chief physician and consultant at Om Ayurveda, Kerala Ayurvedic Orthopedic Rehabilitation Center since 10 years. Today, she will be sharing her experience on lumbar disc prolapse and its management. For that, I request all of you to give your full attention to ma'am and help me in welcoming you. Ma'am,
Thank you, Rajat ji, for inviting me to share my experience, clinical experience related to the management of lumbar disc prolapse. Before I start my presentation, I would like to pray for my God, Guru. Next, introduction. Lumbar disc prolapse is also known as the slip disc. Very often or very commonly we heard this name is like slip disc ho gaya, slip disc ho gaya. So what do we mean? Usually patient comes to us and they actually imagine that slip disc means something has come out of it, but it's not actually that slip is coming disc is coming out of it, but it is just it is crossing its boundary. It's not actually coming out. Prolapse disc is also known as herniated disc, and this disc prolapse can happen any particular level of the spine. It's not that it is only in the cervical, it is only in the lumbar. It can happen at any particular intervertebral space. The severity of the disc prolapse or the severity of the problem can vary according to the size of the prolapse. The larger the prolapse, more severe is the problem. Usually the location for the disc prolapse is very common in the lumbar region, and in lumbar region also L4 L5 90% 95% we see that L4 L5 intervertebral disc involvement is more, and the second common is L5 S1. L1 L2 L2 L3 is rarely involved into lumbar disc prolapse. At the same time, when we look at the cervical region, then C5 C6 or the C6 C7 is very common for the intervertebral disc prolapse. Whereas when we look at to the thoracic region, very rare cases we see a prolapse in the thoracic region. But usually when we talk about thoracic region, only in case of ankylosing spondylosis, where there is no involvement of the disc, but there is an involvement of the spine and the anterior posterior cruciate ligament, because sometimes patients do come with the dorsal spine pain, and when they are coming with the dorsal spine pain, then we must think about ankylosing spondylosis, and we must not we must not forget to rule out that. Whereas another common thing for the thoracic region is if there is a history of fall, then the common thing for the involvement of the thoracic vertebrae is D11, D12 or D10, where we can see the wedge fracture of the thoracic vertebrae. If we look into the age or the age group where they are mostly coming with the slip disc problem or the disc prolapse problem is 30 to 40 year. Males are very common as compared to the female. And if we think about okay, why it is important to treat lumbar disc prolapse, because the 30 to 40 year age group is very crucial age, where we are going for the where they are bread and butter earners of their family. And in that particular condition, like if you look at the management part, then there is a complete bed rest it comes into. Now how long they will need to take a complete bed rest, and specifically in today's competitive world, we see that if you are saying I want to take a leave, there is very uncertainty about their job, so they cannot take a leave also. So where we have to give a result in a less number of days with the help of Ayurveda, at the same time we should think about a long lasting effect. It should not be just a temporary that okay, they have come to us for the treatment, and we say that okay, you are having a back pain issue or there is some radiating pain or something, we will give you medicine, we will do treatment like that. If we do not have a proper protocol, then at present when they come, we might feel that they're symptomatically they are improving, but in the future it might worsen their problem. The most common level of the disc prolapses, as I mentioned earlier, that is L4, L5, and next common is L5, S1. And the common type of the disc prolapse is posterolateral type of the disc prolapse. Now, how do we define the disc prolapse? So whenever, as I mentioned, that is not like a disc is completely coming out. You can see here that it doesn't coming, it's not a coming outside completely. See, if this is a normal boundary of a disc, then the material of the disc, like that is a nucleus pulposus we say, or the annular fiber we say, annular ring we say, that is just crossing its limit. If this is its boundary, then it is coming out of that boundary, but disc is at that particular place inside only. And when we talk about in lumbar disc prolapse, 5% of the low, it accounts for the 5% of the low back pain, but it is the leading most common cause for the surgery. Now, when we talk about surgery, there is a research paper presented by Jemmy Fairbank, a professor of spinal surgery, which is published online on 2008 May 27, where he is concluding that when they are opting for the surgery for lumbar disc prolapse, then the surgery is effective and it elevates at least 90% of radicular leg pain, but it is less successful for the back pain, and around 70% of the people will continue to have a long term back pain even after surgery. Up to 10% of the people will report more serious back pain after surgery, and there can be some disability. In terms of when we talk about disability, there can be complication like foot drop. Patient do come post surgery, there is a foot drop complications, or they say that there are some nerve sensation changes is there. So in short, what we can conclude is surgery has, and other thing is like surgery has no effect on reoccurrence. I don't know how whether you are aware or not, but usually in case of spine also, orthopedic surgeon do end up operating a spine disc prolapse maximum for 5 times. Beyond that, they cannot operate it, whether it is a cervical or whether it is a lumbar. They can touch or they can open the spine area only for 5 times. Beyond that, it is not possible to operate. So if some people are coming with the reoccurrence, then surgery doesn't have any effect on the reoccurrence thing. And after a benefit of the surgery is only short term and or the medium term, and in apart from that, surgery is potentially danger also. Why? Because in the lumbar, if we see the structure of the lumbar region or the cervical region, it's not only muscle and the bone involvement, but at the same time there is an involvement of the nerve. And if surgery during the surgery, if something goes wrong, then definitely there will be some serious problem involving into it. Here is the important key role as a Ayurvedic practitioners. We can play an important role. See, we have got n numbers of formulation in terms of medication, which according to the rogi, which we can prescribe according to the rogi, avastha, rog, prakriti, vikriti, all that thing we can describe that. It's like we can we can generate a precise, personalized prescription. That is an important, like we have a privilege of that. And along with that, we do have a panchakarma, and at the same time we have a panchakarma upakram also, which never fails to give a desirable and promising result. And more nowadays, more and more generation, like more and more number of people are turning towards Ayurveda. They come with the hope to us that okay, can you we are being suffering from this problem, we are told to go for the surgery, and can you help to avoid this surgery? So if we have a proper protocol to treat this particular problem, then definitely we can help them to avoid surgery. See, patient doesn't mind to pay you. You ask for n number of amount. They say that you are 100% sure that after doing the treatment, I will not be able to. I'll not be able to go for the surgery. It's not that now you are helping me to avoid the surgery, but they are asking in terms of the future also. If we have a protocol, we can confidently and we can definitely give them that okay, this is how our treatment is. Before starting the treatment, we can tell them that in this number of days, like initial 7 to 8 days, what result you can expect with our treatment. Now following another number of days, what result you are expecting. So if you are educating patient well in advance before taking them for the treatment, then they will be confident on you. They will be confident like okay, doctor knows that कि कहाँ पे मुझे कैसे treat करने वाले और मुझे कितने time में कितना improvement मिलने वाला है. Because they have a usually when like patient comes to us for this type of a problem, they say that ki I have a time bound also. I have already taken 2 months, 3 months complete bed rest, still I am not improving. Or sometimes they say that ki okay, it is a recent problem, but still they want to just go in for the treatment. Then we need to in terms of the treatment wise, we need to assure in terms of like how many number of days or how long they will need to take a treatment. And once we give a thorough outline of the treatment protocol, they are happy to go in with the protocol. At the same time, with the help of the protocol, we can relieve their pain, we can increase the mobility and the function. At the same time, we can improve their quality of life, and we can minimize adverse effect of the drugs like NSAIDs or corticosteroid, because usually in terms of modern medicine, when we talk, they you end up giving initial stage they give NSAIDs. Once the pain is not coming under control, or the radiating pain is radiculopathy is not coming under control, the next dose what they give is the steroids. Steroid itself have some side effects, so usually patient, when they are taking for a long time, definitely they'll end up getting into the some complications. So if we have a protocol, patient get convert for the treatment, at the same time we can prevent from this all particular problem. Now when we look into the anatomy of the disc, it is very important to understand what disc is, how it works. So disc is basically a cartilage pad which is situated in between two lumbar in between two vertebrae, lumbar vertebrae, and it has a three part. One is a nucleus pulposus, which is which is in the center, which is jelly like structure. It contains 80% water. Now second is the annular fiber. You can see this is the annulus fiber. This annulus fiber is a rubber like band, and it is sensitive. The outer fiber of the ring is a sensitive. This ring is controlling that nucleus pulposus from moving away from the center. And two vertebral end plate. This two vertebral end plate is very important for the nutrition of the disc, because disc, if we say disc is avascular, there is no direct blood supply to the disc, but the whatever nutrition they are getting, that is through the diffusion and that through the disc margin, that is the end plate. From the end plate only they end up getting nutrition. So if there is a recurrent trauma on the back, recurrent history of the fall on the back, then this disc the end plate tends to that end plates tend to fracture, and because of that fracture, the blood supply to that particular end plate is not proper, and then the disc goes into the resorption, and then it goes into the degeneration thing. Now what is the role of this particular disc? The disc works as a shock absorbent. Whenever we are doing some activity, there are certain force working on our spine, which I mentioned in the last lecture, that there are compressive force working on the spine, then there is a shear force working on the spine, tensile force, torsion force. So whenever we are doing any activity, forward bending, backward bending, or lateral bending, sideway turning, twisting, during that whatever force working on that particular spine, it helps to absorb that. When it is absorbing that particular shock, it is preventing the nerve damage which are coming from the in between the two disc space. Now what is the relation between disc and the nerve root? If we can see here that there are certain nerves which are passing from the spinal canal. So from each and every level, these nerves are coming out. So if you see here, this L4 nerve is the exiting nerve, whereas L5 nerve is a traversing nerve. So this is the L4 disc, whereas this is L5 nerve. So L4 nerve is coming before the L4 L5 disc, and this L5 is coming at the level of L5 and S1. So depending upon what is the importance of this, whenever we are seeing at what particular level the prolapse has happened, according to that, whether it is exiting nerve which is getting compressed, or whether it is a traversing nerve which is getting compressed, that depends upon the type of the type of the prolapse in the canal. So what type of the disc herniation we are expecting? There can be posterolateral disc herniation, there can be central disc herniation, and the lateral disc herniation. When we say the posterolateral is in the posterior and the lateral side, when it is a posterolateral, usually exiting nerve is getting compressed. But when it is a central disc herniation is there, in the central disc herniation, sometimes it is like whatever nerves are traversing through that particular disc. Say for example, it is the disc prolapses at the level of L3, L4, or at the level of L4 and L5. So before L4 and L5, L4 nerve is exiting. So that particular nerve involvement will not be there, but the L5 nerve or the S1 nerve involvement will be definitely there. And if the central disc prolapse is very big, then it might end up giving the cauda equina type of the syndrome. Whereas in the lateral disc prolapse, we can see that usually exiting nerve roots are getting compressed. Now classification of the herniation, depending upon how big herniation or what material or what tissue is involved during that particular prolapse, it is classified as either it is a bulging disc or it is a protrusion of the disc. It can be extrusion of the disc or it can be a sequestration of the disc. What is the difference in the bulging, protrusion, extrusion, and the sequestration? When it is a bulging, it is thus the center of the nucleus pulposus is just traveling, is moving from the center towards the adjacent end plate, vertebral end plate. When it is a protrusion, the when we talk about the protrusion of the disc, the center pulposus nucleus is there. The nucleus is coming and impinging towards the annular fiber, but it is well under the boundary of nucleus pulposus, and whereas posterior longitudinal ligament is not at all affected. When we talk about the extrusion of the disc, it is like the annular ring of the annular fibers is tear, and then we can expect the fluid comes out, but the posterior longitudinal ligament is intake. There is no tear in the posterior longitudinal, or there is no disruption in the posterior longitudinal ligament. When we talk about the sequestration, there is a tear or disruption of the posterior longitudinal ligament. At the same time, there is a tear in the annulus fiber, and the material or the nucleus comes out into the vertebral canal. So when we talk about sequestration or extrusion, it is more difficult to give a result, whereas the bulging of the disc and the protrusion of the disc is sometimes it is self-limiting with the complete bed rest. Usually bulging disc is the first time when there is a sudden force comes on the spine and patient comes with the sudden back pain. It will be bulging disc prolapse we can expect. And if we give them 5 days, 6 days or 7 days complete bed rest along with some medication and some home remedy, then they tend to resolve by themselves. But in case of protrusion, extrusion, sequestration, we might need to give a treatment for a little longer number of days. In the diagrammatic, if we can see that this is a bulging disc, where just the center of the nucleus has traveled to the border or just moved from the center and traveling towards the periphery. Here it is a protrusion where it has started impinging the annular fiber. This is annular. There is a rupture of the annular fiber, and this fluid comes out. And in this, the posterior longitudinal ligament is also broken and disrupted, and the fluid has kind of traveled into the spinal canal. How do we see this as a schematic illustration, or this will help us to understand in terms of MRI also? Like if you can see, this is a normal disc where the nucleus pulposus is in the center, and this is annular fiber ring. In this, the annulus fiber nucleus pulposus has traveled towards one periphery instead of the center. In this, we can see that the nucleus pulposus has started impinging the annular fiber in the outside annular fiber. In this, we can see the annular fiber at the along with that, the posterior longitudinal ligament is affected, but it is not ruptured or it is not disrupted. And here we can see that in the canal itself, we can see some material nucleus pulposus we can see in this particular thing. What is the major cause for happening this lumbar disc prolapse? Repetitive mechanical activity like forward bending, backward bending, twisting, lateral twisting, or the sideway bending in improper position, or this particular activity we do end up doing this activity without taking proper breaks or without doing a proper stretching, then we end up getting this kind of a mechanical injuries. Sedentary lifestyle, those who are not at all involved into doing any particular activity, because of that their muscles doesn't have any strength, and when they end up doing some type of activity, they might strain their muscles, and that the force when they are doing that particular activity, that force might affect spine, and the force can work up to the disc also. A traumatic injury when we are and the lumbar disc. Now, what do we mean by traumatic injuries? Like, say for example, usually this is a very common cause of the lumbar disc prolapse. Patient come to us with the complaint that I didn't do anything, but I was just trying to lift some weight from the floor, or I was trying to take something even though it is heavy or it is not heavy, but when they are trying to do it with lifting something from the floor with the bend at the waist, that is at the hip, and not at the bend with the knee joint and spine straight. If they are bending with the waist, they are bending with the bend at the waist, then that puts kind of a lot of pressure on the disc, and because of that there can be a reason for the lumbar disc prolapse. Obesity, a leading cause for the leading cause, and along with that, sedentary lifestyle. Nowadays most of the people are working from home, there is no activity, and along with that they are at home, so they end up eating, and because of that they are putting on weight. Now they are putting on weight, spine has to give extra support to the extra fats which is accumulated into the body, and because of that also it starts putting a pressure on the spine, and once there is any force working on the spine, automatically it is going to transfer to the disc also. Poor posture, when we end up sitting in the wrong posture, sitting, standing in wrong alignment, that will put a strain on the spine muscles and bones and the disc. The most important thing is next is most important, tobacco abuse. When we say tobacco abuse, why specifically I mention about tobacco abuse and not any other thing like food and all? Because tobacco, when we look into the tobacco, the chemical which is present, chemical amount which is present in the tobacco and smoking is a kind of a reduces the disc resorption, and that leads to the degeneration or the injury to the disc. So it is very important that those who are having a habit of smoking has a higher chances of suffering from the lumbar disc prolapse. What can be the symptom of lumbar disc prolapse? When we talk about the symptom varies according to the location of the disc involved, and it varies according to the size of the disc involved, that is like the soft tissue involvement. And another thing, when we say initially we might not end up diagnosing about the disc prolapse, because what happened, patient comes with a vague complaint like I am getting low back pain, then sometime I feel like my nerve is completely pulling from the back, because they end up using a layman language. So I feel something is pulling, some string like thing sensation is there, or sometimes they say that my feet are getting cold, my toes are feeling cold in sensation. So all these things, sometimes they just end up coming with the complaint that I don't have any pain, just my low back pain is there, and along with that I am finding difficulty in walking. I walk for 5-10 minutes, after that I have to stop for a second, and then again I can walk. So this is kind of a intermittent claudication where there is a nerve involvement. So when the patient has, sometimes patient has a good pain bearing capacity, so that time they don't end up complaining about the pain, but they end up complaining something neurological complaint, and because of that we might not end up diagnosing immediately that it can be a case of IVDP. But still, what is the common symptoms patient comes to us with? That is the low back pain, then stiffness into the low back pain, radiculopathy, that is radiating pain up to the thigh, or it will be up to knee, or it will be up to feet. The numbness in that one leg or both lower extremity, tingling sensation and biting sensation, paresthesia, where there will be the sensation change in the sensation also. Then sciatica type of a pain will be there. Usually patient comes that like I have a sciatica, they come with their own diagnosis that I have a sciatica and I want to do the treatment for the sciatica. But as a doctor, it is our role to diagnose whether it is impingement nerve involvement is there from the sciatic nerve outlet, or that is sciatic notch, or it is from the root, that is the L4, L5, S1 nerve root involvement. If there is a nerve root involvement, it will be definitely a case of slip disc. Then they come with the muscular weakness, they find lower limb weakness, they are not able to stand for a long time, they say not able to walk for a long time. So these are the common symptoms with what they come to us. And what can be the complication if we neglect this thing? There can be permanent nerve injury, where they will say that okay, my great toe is completely numb, I do, and whatever we do, there is no changes in that great toe sensation, I don't feel as if there is some life into that toe. So something like that complaint might happen in the complication thing. Cauda equina syndrome is the biggest complication, where there will be what do we mean by cauda equina? If we look into the spinal canal, the spinal canal spinal cord ends at the level of L1, L2, and after that there is a nerves coming out, and which gives a picture of the tail of the horse. And if that tail of if the prolapse is beyond L3, L4, L5, then and if it is a big prolapse, it can give to a cauda equina syndrome, where all the nerves fibers are getting involved into the problem, and that might lead to the saddle anesthesia or permanent lower limb extremity weakness, paralysis, loss of bowel and bladder movement, and sexual dysfunction. Now, as a clinician, it is important thing to know that which case I should take and which case I should not take. So whenever patient comes to us with some type of a low back pain, along with that they say that I have a loss of incontinence in the bladder and bowel movement, or I find there is erectile dysfunction, then it must click in our mind that there can be either there can be a stenosis, spine stenosis, or big herniation of the disc will be there, and this is kind of a situation where surgery is required, and we need to understand our limitations also, that we cannot just simply keep on saying that okay, we can treat all the disc prolapse cases. Wherever there is certain complication, and if we feel that okay, in this kind of a cases, after taking the patient we might not be able to give a desirable result, then we must always ask a patient to take a second opinion. Once you diagnose the problem, you can ask patient to take a second opinion, or you can educate patient that I will do this treatment, and what results we are gonna get, that we will see. But it should not be just a blind line of treatment. How do we diagnose it? Usually we end up diagnosing darshan, sparshan, prashnan. And same thing I told you last lecture also, that we need to fall in love with the spine. We have to look, we have to feel, and we have to move. So when we look at when we are trying to look at the patient, we must observe their gait, whether they come to us with a weakness. If they are come to us with one particular leg weakness, definitely there will be change in the gait. If there is a difficulty in walking on the toe, difficulty in walking on the heel, that can indicate L5. Or sometime we should look for the involvement of the toe, like clubbing of the toe. When there is a weakness into toe, they try to grab the ground like this, and then we say that the clawing of the toe is there. So it's that is an important sign about the involvement of the love. Now then another thing, but what patient comes to us is like lumbar tilt. Sometimes patient says okay, I don't have any problem, yesterday I was perfectly all right, I tried to do some yogasana, and after this I have come with this particular picture. My pain is not too much, I don't feel pain in the back, but my posture has been changed. So whenever we see there is a lumbar tilt thing, then it must click in our mind that it can be a case of a disc prolapse, and we must do some investigation, or we must guide whatever home care management is that is very important. Now when we say in terms of the feel, we need to palpate whether there is a swelling, whether there is a tenderness, or in which particular area there is a swelling and tenderness. Depending upon that particular area, we can diagnose, or we can imagine the picture. Or if it is a L3 or L4 disc prolapse, then patient will be having a radiating pain up to the thigh or up to the knee. Patient will say that I am feeling some um, uh, burning sensation, or as if somebody has just put chili on my thigh. So that is indication of some disc bulge or the protrusion where it is impinging nerve. So this is very important to find out find the location from where the disc prolapse can happen. And another is the last is move. We must ask patient to do the movements. Depending upon that, we can find out how severe it is. And when we are going for this look, feel, and move, in along with that there are certain specific tests which I mentioned in the last lecture only. So with that we can come to a diagnostic conclusion, that what can be the outcome of this particular patient, or what can be probable diagnosis in this case. So what can be a key diagnostic point when we are examining, when we are doing a darshan, sparshan, prashnan with the help of that if it can be a case of lumbar disc prolapse, we might see that the patient is complaining more of a leg pain rather than a back pain, and there is a neurological deficit is present. The patient will complain about the radiculopathy, involvement of the nerve. But when we see there is an annular tear, patient will complain more of a back pain as compared to the leg pain. And when we are going for the bilateral straight leg raising test, it will be positive in case of the annular tear. When there is a facetal joint involvement is there, or the facet arthropathy is there, then the localized tenderness, when we are palpating or when we are feeling that particular area, the localized tenderness on that particular facet joint, which can be present unilateral, it will not be present bilateral, it will be present unilateral. And pain, when we ask a patient to do extension, backward movement of the spine, that time the pain will increase. And if we are asking to ask a patient to do ipsilateral movement, that is lateral side bending, then the patient will complain about the pain, which side of the facet is involved. According to that, patient will complain about the pain, that on this side I am having pain. Now, when there is a spinal stenosis, as I told you, patient might not come to us with the back pain or back pain more, but they will say that after walking, limited distance, I am able to walk a limited distance, I am able to stand for the limited distance. So that is an clear indication that there is a case of spinal stenosis. Though they have a complaint of back pain and leg pain, but the most important alarming sign is limited walk, limited distance in terms of the walk or standing. And a patient will feel a relief with immediate flexion. So sometimes patient, we will see the posture like they remain in the flex position only, so that to counter that is like to compensate the pain, and they'll remain in the flexion position only. We will not see any neurological deficit in terms of there will not be much of a radiating pain, or there will not be loss of the sensation in that particular leg and all. And in case of spinal stenosis, SLR is usually negative. Patient can raise their leg completely up to 90 degrees. And when we have to diagnose that whether it is a muscular pain, then in the localized affected muscle pain, tenderness, pain will be there. And whenever they are doing certain exercise, certain activity, during that, if the muscle is going into muscle is going into contraction relaxation, that time they will feel the pain, and pain will be usually on the one side, on unilateral side, not on both the sides. Once we are done with this examination, thorough examination, okay, we know everything with maybe past lecture, and with this particular lecture you may end up diagnosing this prolapse cases clinically, that okay, we are 100%, as a doctor we are 100% confident that this patient is having a disc bulge, this patient is having a disc prolapse. But at the same time, it is very important to confirm our diagnosis. And usually whatever investigation we end up saying to the patient is not for us, it is for patients also. To educate patient, it is very good and important. Because what happens, sometimes patient starts arguing with you that, oh doctor, मुझे तो सिर्फ थोड़ा ही बैक पेन है, इतना ज्यादा नहीं है, मुझे गादी रिलेटेड नहीं है, वो मुझे सिर्फ थोड़ा सा मसल स्ट्रेन हो गया है, मसल थोड़ा सा मेरा अकड़ गया है, स्पाज्म हो गया है, like that complaint they end up saying. Even though and at that particular time there is no point in arguing. Yes, we can tell them that okay, you are right, but then just to get a good improvement, and to reduce your number of duration for the treatment day, we must do X-ray or the MRI, so that what future precaution you have to take, that we can guide you. You can always tell patient that कि आपको ये एक बार आया है, you don't want it in future again and again, so it is better we go for the investigation now only. And when we go for the investigation, usually we end up advising X-ray and MRI. Now usually when we suspect disc prolapse, the ideal choice of diagnosis is MRI lumbar spine. But now sometimes as a clinician, as a doctor, we end up getting a situation where patient is non-affording, where patients say, no, I cannot go for the MRI. That time we can ask them to go for the X-ray. And what all findings we must expect from the X-ray is, there can be narrow disc space. This is, as a clinician, we must know that, okay, even though we are telling them to go for the X-ray, now X-ray only gives an idea about bone and muscle. It doesn't give idea about soft tissues. But if we observe that particular X-ray correctly, then in the last lecture also I have mentioned that we need to just remember ABC of the X-ray reading. So alignment of the bone, then the bone density, what about bone structure, then the cartilage thing is there, then the space in between the two bones, sorry. So this is very important. When we observe space between two vertebrae, it will give a clear indication. If the space is reduced, definitely the disc height is going to reduce, and that is an indication that there is something or some problem with that particular patient's disc. Then there will be loss of lumbar lordosis, and we can see if it is an acute case, the patient will be having a severe pain, and there will be compensatory scoliosis towards one side. Whereas in the MRI, we all know that we must expect that intervertebral disc protrusion will be there, or some nerve root compression will be written in the MRI findings. So this we are confirming the diagnosis. How do we, when we look into the X-ray, as I told you, see, if you can see this particular X-ray in this particular film, this is L5S1, this is L4, and this is L3, L2. So this particular disc space, if we see, it is reduced disc space. Here, if we see, this is a reduced disc space. But if we see, observe this is L4 and L5, and L5 and S1, disc space is marginally reduced. Along with that, we can see this concave and this concave convex shadow. So what this does indicates is like this concave and convex shadow indicates that whatever person has a lot of activity which is involving his spine, and because of that, too much force force is working on the disc, and disc is trying to give away that force, and that is why when they are repulsing that force onto the end plates, and that's why this particular shadow we can end up seeing. Now, in this particular X-ray also you can see there is L5S1 disc space is reduced, whereas this and this is a normal thing. This is MRI. Clinically, practically, when we ask to go for the MRI, this is something how they come with the picture, or this how they come with the film of the MRI. So how we can read this film in the MRI is, now last time, if all of you remember, I have told you that World War II. So in T2 image, fluid always resembles white. So this here you can observe that this fluid, this is CSF is white. So this is a T2 image, and this is black shadow is a spinal cord, and the spinal nerves are there. So in this patient, in this case, you can see this L4, L5 and L5S1 big protrusion is there. This, in fact, L3, L4 and L5, it's a, we can say it's in the case of extrusion, and this is a protrusion, case of protrusion and extrusion, but this is going into the extrusion to sequestration also. Now, what is the beauty of when we read MRI by ourselves is, because usually when we see the reports, it's not written how big is the disc prolapse. So we can make out from the actual film, when we look at into the actual film, we can make out, okay, so much of nerve involvement or so much of compression is there. Along with that, if you see, this is L3, L4, this is L2, L3, L2, and this is L1. So 1 and 2 looks black, whereas this looks little white. So this can again indicate that this, the blackishness of the disc again indicates that there can be repetitive trauma. So this patient had a history of past history of fall, and then this patient was about doing some yogasana, and he came with this particular complaint that, okay, now I don't have any back pain, but I'm shifted to one side. So something like that happens. Now this is the sagittal section. When we go for the axial view, if you can see in the axial view, this finding, this is T1 image and this is T2 image. You can see this canal, spinal canal is a white in shadow, and this is nerve roots which are present. It is a nerve roots. So here, okay, another thing what we can observe from here is, this is L1, L2. This black outside ring is an annulus fiber, and this white shadow is the shadow of the nucleus pulposus. So this is L1, L2, L2, L3, L3, L4. Now here they have started showing this is L1, L2, L2, L3, L2, L3 again, and this is L3, L4. So here you can see this L3, L4. Here also this is good. The nucleus pulposus is water rich. It is properly jelly like structure, so it's not degenerated here in the case of L3 and L4. But if you look into L4 and L5, this is a disc completely blackened, where the nucleus pulposus has traveled to the periphery, and it is giving a shadow, kind of a half moon shadow, into the spinal canal. This is a big bulge. In fact, it is giving a side nerve root compression also. Whatever nerve roots are trying to exit from that thing, it is giving a compression on exiting nerve also. At the same time, it will be giving compression on the traversing roots also. This is L4 and L5. If we see L5 and S1, this is L5 and S1. Here also you can see the big picture, like that is a half moon kind of a shadow. So this is a complicated case if we do not end up doing a proper diagnosis, and if we don't end up giving a proper advice to this patient. Now, what can be the treatment protocol? Now, depending upon the onset of the problem, depending upon intensity of the pain, depending upon the limitation of the activity, our treatment protocol depends on that. Now, what do we mean by onset? Say when the patient is coming to you, a disc prolapse case comes to, sometime it comes immediately, or maybe say within a week, or sometime they come after a week, or after a month. Sometime they come after 3 months. Sometime they come after 6-7 months. Now usually when I started my practice, that time the acute kind of cases were less, where patient used to come into subacute and the chronic phase. Usually because patient doesn't have an idea that in the acute case also we can treat that thing. So what they do is they say, okay, बहुत ज़्यादा पेन था तो हमने ऑर्थोपेडिक के पास जाके पेन किलर लिया, कंप्लीट बेड रेस्ट कर लिया, और उसमें अभी मेरे को कुछ फायदा नहीं हो रहा है, तो और बाद में डॉक्टर ने बोला 3 महीना मेडिसिन खाया, अभी डॉक्टर बोल रहा है कि मेडिसिन से अच्छा नहीं हो रहा है तो अभी आपको ऑपरेशन करना है, अभी हमको ऑपरेशन नहीं करना है, तो बाय दैट टाइम द अक्यूट फेज इज ऑलरेडी ओवर, दे कम टू अस comes in the subacute phase or the chronic phase. So according to that, our line of treatment differs. But if a patient comes to us in the acute phase, that is a very important and the crucial phase of the treatment. So because subacute and chronic, that is the symptoms are quite like patient has already taken painkiller, steroid. So some symptoms of pain wise, if we say pain wise, symptom must have reduced, but other symptoms, radiculopathy and all that must have been there, and which is kind of affecting their day-to-day routine life. But always remember, if a patient comes to us in the acute phase, that is very crucial stage where we are giving a treatment. So when we say that treatment depends on our onset, pain, intensity of the pain and limitation, we must have some assessment criteria also, because patient is paying to us. So patient says that कि हमको कैसे पता चलेगा what we are doing and how we are assessing. So it is for us, our betterment, and for the patient's betterment, to just go back and review about the treatment improvement, we must have some assessment criteria. So depending upon the pain, like if pain is completely absent, we can give a 0 grade. If the mild pain is there, moderate, severe or intolerable, even with the painkiller, then the patient is like it is a 4 grade, pain is 4 grade. So if we start the treatment, like it happens usually in the case of acute disc prolapse, patient comes with the painkiller, they are already taking painkillers, and they come and say that okay, painkiller, I am eating already painkillers, I'm not getting any relief with the help of painkiller also, so I would like to start some Ayurveda treatment or some medicine. At that particular time, we need to make them understand that it's not this in the practically, it happens that whenever we give Ayurveda medicine or some treatment, then the patient says, oh, my pain has increased when I was taking as compared to the painkiller when I was taking my painkiller. So it's not because of our treatment, we need to be confirmed with that it is not because of our treatment, it is because of the painkiller what patient was taking, and now they have stopped taking painkiller. So either when we are starting our treatment, we must taper down the painkiller, or we must educate patient that okay, we are going to stop your painkiller. So initially for 4 or 5 days or initially a week, you might feel that there will be increase in the pain, but that is not because of our treatment, or that is not because of our medicine. That is because whatever painkiller you were taking, that we are stopping because of that. Similarly, in the terms of the stiffness and posture also, like the grade 4, when we give tilted one side with the lumbar belt, if patient is putting a lumbar belt and the tilt is reducing, lumbar shift is reducing, then we can give a gradation 3. So similarly, it's sometimes patient do end up arguing that ki abhi bhi acha nahi hua doctor, abhi bhi acha nahi hua. We can just remove our assessment sheet and we can tell them that okay, the day one when you came, your severity of the pain was this, your posture was this. Similarly, in terms of daily routine also we can access. At the same time, we can just write down SLR also, that with what SLR degree they had come to us. Like just the 0 SLR, there was no ability or no strength to raise their leg. And after our treatment of 7 days, this helps for the for future treatment, to decide the future line of treatment also. So initially after doing 7 days, 10 days treatment, what is the difference in SLR? Now after 15 days, whether now the SLR, first SLR was positive, now SLR is getting negative. Depending on that, we can imagine that whether the disc bulge, protrusion, extrusion, that is resolving, and that's how the nerve compression or nerve impingement is also resolving. Along with that, we must have some assessment according to the daily routine activity, whether patient is able to do some daily routine activity, whether they are doing it with the painkiller, doing it without painkiller, whether they are able to do routine activities like cooking, washing, they are completely bedridden, whether they are able to walk, not able to walk, whether they are able to sit or stand. Usually in case of the disc prolapse cases, their sitting is mostly affected. They say that after sitting for half an hour, or after sitting for, I cannot sit at all. The moment I sit, my pain increase and my tingling numbness is increasing. So that is an alarming sign that there is a impingement of the nerve. And the sleep pattern, whether their sleep is affected because of the pain, not affected. What about their social life? They are going into the social life. This all helps in the like acute case, at the same time subacute and chronic cases also. Say for example, patient is not in acute phase, where they are able to do all their daily routine activity, but some of these things are still affected, like social life. Patient is not going to the any social occasion just because they feel that if I'll go, my pain will increase, so I don't want to get that pain. For that they are preventing that all thing. Or even they are avoiding to travel long distance. Say for example, they from Mumbai, they want to go to the Gujarat or some other state by car or by flight also, they say no, 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 I don't want to go. So this is, even though it is a acute, it is a subacute or it is a chronic case, in that this helps us that with our treatment what we are achieving, what will be our protocol target. Like that we can decide whether patient is able to perform an activity like sport. In terms of sports activity, they are able to do their certain people are into the sports, so whether they are able to play that sports again or not. And again the tingling numbness, whether it is present, because if it is in a subacute and acute cases, that we see there is no pain but intermittent claudication, or there is a walk after walking for 5 minutes, after walking for 10 minutes. So how many whether duration has increased with our treatment, like before they were able to walk for 10 minutes only, now they are able to walk for 20 minutes. So definitely with our treatment they are getting an improvement. So likewise, if we have an assessment criteria, we can set a target that where up to where we have to treat and how much time it will take for the treatment. Okay, now how to approach for this type of a cases, how do we approach? So as I mentioned last time also, that it's not just the lakshana samsishti what we are gonna treat, it is abhyantar vikrunti parampara also. So we must not just focus on the symptom of the patients, but we must try to find out internal pathology, or we must try to set some sampratri, what can be the reason. I understand sometimes it is just the mechanical cause, or sometimes there is one particular incident, because of that this prolapse, usually it happens with the mechanical injury or some trauma, that the patient tried to do some lifting of the weight from the floor in the incorrect position, and they end up getting this back pain. But usually what happened, patient do end up asking a question that other people of other family members are also doing this activity, they are not getting it, and why I only suffering, or why only I am getting this problem again and again. So we must try to find out some other internal pathology also, and where we can remember the treatment principle also. Like as I told you that one treatment principle what we follow during the treatment is Vata Vyadhi line of treatment, because Kati Shula, all that is mentioned under the Vata Vyadhi. But this simply talking about only Kati Shul, Kati Grah doesn't fulfill our motto of finding an internal pathology or the samprapti. So we must focus on other involvement, or other involvement of the apana vayu and all that thing also. So when we look into the symptoms of this particular problems, like Gridrasi, if we see Spik Purva Kati Prushta Janu Jangapad Kramat Gridrasi Stambarku Tod Gruhat Spandate Muhu. So this is a typical Gridrasi is a typical thing where we end up seeing something like this type of a cases. But just setting a line of treatment only of the Gridrasi doesn't help, because it's like sometimes we end up following, patient comes to us with the sciatica and we say okay chalo we will do a dahan karma, but after that dahan karma patient comes again and again that abhi bhi mera problem theek nahi hua. Sometimes we see that ki Pakwashay Gatvat also has got some this type of a thing. And you can see this here, typical Prushta Kati Graham is mentioned in the symptoms, Lakshana of the Pakwashay Gatvat. Same thing with the Vataj Arsha also. Whenever if a patient is suffering from the Vataj Arsha also, then patient will be having this Prushta Kati Trika pain, Uru Kati Prushta Trika pain will be there. And in that, the forward bending or some twisting movement is a precipitating factor and leading to a disc prolapse. I remember this a typical case of this. Like patient first came to me for the problem of Arsha, like because of taking some medicine. Patient had suffered from the COVID, and there was some death in the family also due to COVID. So patient was more scared, and they were like, we are taking Ayurvedic medicine, we are taking all the kada which is being published in social media also, and we are taking allopathy medicine also. So because of taking a lot many medication, there was heat, and then patient started getting this bleeding per rectum, like that, like type of a symptom they started getting, or difficulty in passing motion. And because of that, patient complained that okay, first I was having only piles related issue, but now because of that my back has also started getting. So this, like when we read into the Lakshana Samprapti, we don't sometimes find Vata Jarsha or Kati Trik Prusht ka kya sambandh hai. But when we sit into the practical life, and then we find out that okay, yes, Vata Jarsha also has mentioned this type of a Lakshan. Similarly, Gudigat Vat also has got a symptom of like Janga Urutrikapad Prushta Shosh, it is showing. Sarvadhatva Vritavrat or Amavat, where the typical patient complains the typical stiffness in the back, and same symptom we end up seeing in the disc prolapse also. Or even in case of Ajirna also, we see there is a Graha, Prishtakati Graha. So similar symptoms are there. So this all pathology will be there in the background. One or the other pathology will be there in the background, and along with that, some stress or some strain on the back might have aggravated that problem, and it might lead to the disc prolapse. So this is very important when we decide a line of treatment and when we plan a medication for the patient. What is the basic treatment protocol involved in case of lumbar disc prolapse is like complete bed rest, medication, panchakarma upakram, lumbosacral belt support, back support, exercise, yoga, home care management, and refer patient. Now when I say that refer patient, I do not mean to say that we must refer patient to the orthopedic modern surgeon or orthopedic surgeon, something like that. But in our practice also, as an Ayurvedic practitioner, if we do not have experience, then we should refer patient to a Vaidya who are successfully treating this kind of a cases, because the specialty practice will be future of the Ayurveda. So this we must start developing. We must start developing this particular habit that we must focus in one particular area, and we must become a specialist in that area only. Because what happened, we have a knowledge of all but master of none. It should not become like that. We must get a deep and deeper knowledge in that particular field only. So that's what I mean to say by the refer patient, that you can always, if you are not confident with the case, then you can always refer a patient to your senior Vaidya, or where you say that they are doing a specialist practice in that particular field. Now when we say that patient, I have divided the treatment protocol in three phases. One is acute, yes, sorry for the interruption. Hello, hello, hello.
जी मैम।
Yes, am I audible?
हेलो।
Hello,
जी मैम।
I'm audible, right?
यस मैम, यू आर ऑडिबल।
Okay, so I'll continue. Sorry
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
interruption. So the treatment principle I have divided into three things. One is acute IVDP, subacute IVDP, and chronic IVDP. So when we say that there is a disc prolapse, what principle we can remember is the Vimarga Gaman of a kapha dosha, which is a nucleus pulposus, is kind of as I mentioned earlier, it is a 80% water, jelly-like structure. So we can, it resembles with the guna of a kapha. or we can say that there can be a sthana sanstrayam of the ama or apana vayu dushti. These three principles I take along, and then we try to give a result into that. This is my practical experience, and this is how I try to help patient. Senior Vaidyas might have their own opinion, but they might have their own opinion. So I do not want any argument, but this is what I am trying to give my experience into this particular cases. So I divide this acute IVDP, as I mentioned earlier also, that I divide this acute IVDP into 3 stages. Because it is very important and crucial. This is the stage where we can give 100% result if we want. So like initial stage 1, where patient comes to us, say for example within 1 month, if patient is coming to us, then what is our first motto of the treatment is we have to give a pain relief. At the same time, we must focus on the protection from the other nerve involvement. And once we are done with the pain relief phase and the other nerve involvement compression, we are done with this, then the second stage is like because of this disc prolapse, this disc might go into the hardening, and it might hardening, and the disc might not function like normal. So what we need to do is we have to focus on healing of the disc bulge and restoring its full function of the disc. And at the same time, in the third stage, we focus on prevent the recurrence. So okay, so when we say that in the stage 1 medication part, we have to decide medication thing in the stage 1, what will be our motto or aim is amapachana, shofahara, vatakafaharam, vedana shamana, vatanulomanam. So this is the choice of medication what I have written. According to experience, it might changes also, but here say for example abhayarishtam, dashamula jirakadhyarishtam, abhayarishtam does a good vatanuloman, dashamula jirakadhyarishtam is good amapachan, rasna saptak is if we look into the rasna saptak and rasna panchakam, then rasna saptak has got a kind of a trika visheshatva in its falashruti, whereas rasna panchak has got dhatu visheshatva, dhatu level. At the same time, it is a jwara visheshatva. So dhatu gata jwara is there, then rasna panchak is choice of medicine. Another is a sahacharadi kashayam, punarnava kashayam, which can which will fulfill a aim of vedana shamana. Chitrakadi kashayam, it is a good vedana shaman. At the same time, it is good amapachana. Gandharvastadi vatanulomana, chirvilvadi kashayam adhikar is the arsha roga adhikar, where if say for example we say a vataj arsha or any past history of arsha is there, then we can go for the chirvilvadi kashayam also. In terms of the guggulu, we can say rasnadi guggul is there, punarnava guggul, mahavat vidvansras initially, or there is a tingling numbness is there, then we can go opt for the ekanga virrasa. Now say for example in the stage 1 only, if you are aiming for any panchakarma, then what is our aim of panchakarma during this particular time is only pain killing, pain relieving, whatever tenderness swelling is present in the lumbosacral area, we have to relieve this. So usually I contraindicate during this particular phase. If there is a big swelling in the back, I usually contraindicate abhyangam in this condition, because abhyangam and specifically gentle like samvahan is still okay, but Mardan, if we end up doing Mardan, then patient had come with less problem, and patient might, like with one sitting also, the problem might worse, and patient came walking, and now there can be difficulty in walking also. So stage 1, basically I avoid giving any snigdha treatment. What I aim is doing a ruksha svedana. So usually my choice of treatment during the first stage, and that is also acute condition, there is a swelling, pain in the swelling, pain, tenderness, lumbosacral area, then we end up doing dhanyamla dhara, and along with it followed by lep we do. So how do we do dhanyamla dhara? It's basically dhanyamla available in the market, that we pour it into the shirodhara patra, and with that we pour it continuously on the lumbosacral area. Now what is the property of this dhanyamla dhara? It basically, dhanyamla is amla rasatmak. So amla rasatmak mood vatanuloman it does. So that is the main principle, that with the help of the dhanyamla, first thing is we have to do vatanulomana. It does a bhedan, it is a ushna and tikshna also. Since the dhanyamla references available in the Vatrakta, even though Dhanyamla is Ruksha, Ushna, Tikshna, but at the same time it helps for the Pitta Shamana also, and it helps to pacify that burning sensation in the limbs, which is usually present when there is a dermatom involvement is there. It reduces fatigueness and lassitude, strama and a clump. How do we apply lep? The lep is basically a ruksha lepa is there. It is ruksha, ushna and tikshna. So what is our aim? Like whatever is thana sanshraya of the kapha is there. Ashaya apakarsha gati of kapha is there. So when there is ashaya apakarsha gati of kapha is there, we cannot just concentrate on treating vata. At the same time, we have to treat kapha also. So if ashaya apakarsha gati is there, then to stabilize kapha back into its ashaya, we must focus on the lep also, which is Tirikarna. So it is like Ruksha, Ukshna and Tikshna. It is a Kapha in nature, Kapha Shoshan. At the same time, it will do Ama Pachan also. So what all options we do for the lepa, Kottam Chukadi lep is there. Then we can just mix a herb like Shunti, Adrakswaras, Jambiriswaras. So here what I have done, Shunti, along with that we are mixing Adrakswaras. If it is Kaphaj, more prominent we see, if pain, stiffness is more, then we can go for this Adrakswaras. Along with that, Jambiriswaras we add, so that again Amla Rasatmak Mudha Vatanulomana is done. And when we see more of a Vataj type of a Katishul or Vataj type of a pain is there, then Arenda Bij lep we can prepare. We can soak that Arenda Bij into the milk overnight, remove skin of the beech seed, then make the paste of that Arenda Bij with the milk, and then apply it on that particular area. Leave it for 3 to 4 hours. And when we are applying, specifically when we apply lep with the Shunti Adrakswaras, we must tell patient that with this lep you might feel little burning sensation or little end biting sensation, pricky, but then don't remove the lep. If you are getting some rash or if you are getting irritation or itching, then you can remove after 2 hours. But this all practical instruction should be given when we are doing this. Now, a very important thing, home care management. Acute slip disc cases, we must give them complete bed rest. At least we tell patient to do a complete bed rest for 7 to 10 days. That is also now when we tell patient complete bed rest, patient doesn't understand. We need to tell them that when I'm saying that complete bed rest, that means you have to lie down. It's not that complete bed rest, you don't have to go for a job, you don't do household activity, but you keep on sitting. No, it's not good. Sitting is completely contraindicated in case of disc prolapse, because what happens, the moment you sit, these two vertebrae starts putting a compression pressure again on the disc. Now we are trying to resolve that particular prolapse, and if we are sitting, that prolapse will again try, it will again try to come out, and again the nucleus will not go into the center, and it will again start traveling to the periphery. That is why sitting is contraindicated. Very important, we must tell patient hot fermentation 3 times in a day compulsory. This hot fermentation is a type of a tapas veda, so it is a dry fermentation. Again, it is a ruksha veda, no snigdha application in that thing. And very important, not to sit more than 5 to 10 minutes, because patient will say, if I have to do complete lie down, what about my eating and all? So we must tell them that okay, for eating you can sit, apart from that you are not supposed to sit. Sometimes after lying down completely, patient feels that my back is getting stiff, so we can tell them in between, like maybe after 3-4 hours you can just get up, you can walk for 5-10 minutes, you can stand for 5-10 minutes, but don't exert more than that. And most important, traveling by bike is completely no, but along with the traveling by auto and 4-wheeler also is no, because what happened when they are sitting, again sitting is involved into that, and that is why completely no during this first phase and first stage of the treatment. And in also acute case of the treatment, no exercise, no yoga, only bed rest has been given. When we are done with the first stage, where we see that the patient is improved, symptomatically patient has improved 50%, 60%, 70%, so then we are going into the second stage. Then we know that the aim, like our disc bulge, we have resolved it a little bit, and the radiculopathy symptom has started reducing. Patient used to have a radiculopathy completely like 24 hours, then now they are getting radiculopathy in particular activity. Then we can go into the second stage. Now and along with that, when we are doing acute management, lumbosacral belt is very important. Now what kind of a belt we must advise is, it should have some firm support in the center. Say for example, here you can see some firm support in the center, or here also you can see there is some firm support. We do not want a very soft type of a belt. Sometimes patient do ask that, can I go for the magnetic belt and all they can use, but not in the initial phase. They must use some firm support belt in the back, like in the center, in the initial stages. And this also we must advise to wear this throughout the day. Like sometimes patient says abhi to sona to hai to kyun pehenna hai. No, that is wrong. Whenever in case of when they are sleeping, they should in the initial stage they must wear during sleeping also. Or you can tell them that you are lying down, you remove it, but the moment you are about to get up, first put your belt, and then only you stand, or then only you walk, or then only you sit. So this is a very important thing to give a successful, I mean, to get a success in the treatment and to avoid or prevent the surgery in future. Now when the second stage of the medication involves vata kapha hara, strota shodhana, and at the same time we have to do a balya also. So ashtavargam kashayam, sahacharadi kashayam, dashamula kashayam, mahayograj gugul, balarishtam, dashamularishtam, all this we can see. When we talk about Ashtavargam Kashayam, it has got lasun into it. So basically, lasun does a Vatanulomana also. At the same time, it does a Sotor Shodhana also. So this type of a medication, it can vary according to, I practice usually the Kerala tradition. So most of my practice has a Kashayam based prescription, but it can vary according to your trend, what trend you are following. But we must not forget the aim. What is our aim for the medication? We must therapeutically we must hit the target. That is our aim of medication. And during this second stage of the second stage, what panchakarma upkram we are opting, we go for basically kadivasti and matravasti. Now why do we go for the kadivasti and matravasti? When we treat in the first stage, Dhanyamla Dhara is basically Ruksha Sveda. It can increase Rukshaguna of the Vata Vayu, that is Apana Vayu. At the same time, because of the Rukshaguna, it may cause hardening, cracking, and degeneration of the disc. And it will reduce the cushion-like function of the disc. So to give that particular back, like to treat now, to compensate that Rukshaguna, we must introduce Snigdha Guna. So that is why we do Kadivasti. Now, usually there is a question that whether we can go for the Kadivasti or whether we can go for the Snehan Swedan, simple Abhyangam and Swedan. But here I opt for Kadivasti and I don't go for the Snehan Swedan, because what happened when we need to reach up to certain level, when we are doing a Snehan Swedan thing, kind of, it is like blood circulation is increasing in up to that particular area. But if we are doing a Kadivasti, so Kadivasti continuous, we are pouring some medicated oil into that area, and that is like continuous increase into the heat is there, and that way heat will increase blood circulation on that particular area. So when they are increasing blood circulation, we can reach up to the much deeper level, and it will help to get a good nutrition. It will restore the local damage of the ligaments, tendons, muscle, bone, and at the same time intervertebral disc. What all oil do we select for during this is Sahacharadi oil, Chinchadi oil, and Kuttam Chukadi oil. So basically, if we look into the Sahacharadi oil Falashruti, then we see that ki Sahacharadi oil Falashruti is somewhere it is Ado Pidita Druda Vilambita. Like whenever there is involvement of some lower half body along with the radiculopathy, then we must select Sahacharadi oil. Now this Sahacharadi oil, Chinchadi oil is very Ushna Tikshna and Amla Rasatmak. Kottam Chukadi, again it is a Ushna Tikshna. So it will take care of the Vat and Kapha at the same time. So we select the Sahacharadi oil, Chinchadi oil, Kottam Chukadi oil, depending upon the Prakruti of the patient and depending upon the involvement of the Vat, Pitta or Kapha in the background. And Matravasti, along with that, we end up giving Matravasti. Why Matravasti? Because Pakwasha is main site of Vata and Vasti Draga. Now, sometimes patient do ask, like nowadays generation, their modern generation, they don't like to take Vasti and all that thing. So they give a resistance. Now, okay, you do Kadivasti, but I don't want to go for the enema thing. Anything to be given through my NS. So we must educate them in terms of their modern medicine that see, the back and NS, if we compare, it is very nearer area. So the blood circulation in that particular area happens very quick and fast. From our Ayurvedic principle, that is a different why we are following. But to make the patient understand and to tell patient to take this, we must tell them that okay, this area is closed and the fastest absorption of the medicine takes place from the from the Pakwashe. So then the patient gets ready for the enema also. So likewise, we go for the Matravasti. That in Matravasti also we select what oil according to the condition, like if there is a history of some apanvayu dushti, or there is a history of some arsha, then we can go for pippaladi anuvasan oil. Apanvayu dushti is there, then we can go for gandharvastadi oil. And when there is a vataj type of a back pain is there, then we select Sindhuvara Eranda Tailam. Sindhuvara Eranda is nothing but a Nirgundu and combination of the Nirgundi and Eranda Tailam. In the second stage of the phase, we can start gradually mobilizing patient. We can tell patient that in between you can get up, you can walk, but then your sit should not exceed more than 15 minutes. Your standing walking should not exceed more than 15 to 30 minutes. Yes, the use of the lumbosacral belt is very important, but you can remove while eating and while sleeping now. Traveling by four-wheeler, we can allow, but for 10 to 15 minutes, and some mild stretching exercise we can start teaching them. Now next stage 3, in what medicine, I mean, when we go into the stage 3, once we are done with this and we see that okay, patient has got acquired enough strength, now maybe 10-20% symptomatically only 10 to 20% complaints are there. That is like maybe because of the weakness and all that thing, dhatu kshaya, then we have to focus about the balya, dhatu poshan and sthirikaranam of the patient. So during that, we can select Lakshadi Gugul Ashtuposhak Vati. Usually in third stage, it is kind of we focus on non-reoccurrence also. So we must start giving some internal medication, internal sneha here. So Sahacharadi 21 or the Lumboton, Cytilon, Spondylon, this all is a sneha based medicine. And this comes in the soft gel capsules. Dashamula Haritaki as a rasayan we can give. And what all procedures we can select here is, here we select for the Podikiri or Elakiri. Along with that, we go for the Yoga Basti because we want to go for the non-reoccurrence also. So when we are aiming non-reoccurrence, at the same time, we are aiming the Vata can move in your body from one place to another. So we want to purify your Vata. At the same time, we do not want it recurrence. So we are going to do full body Abhyangam or full body Podikiri, Elakiri during this particular process. So Elakiri, Podikiri is basically Snigdha Ushna Sweda, because we have to keep it in mind whenever we are treating this condition. It is like a Kapha, Vata and Kapha Haratva is important. So that's why we kind of select procedures which are Ushna, Tikshna, at the same time Snigdha also. And we are well aware about our vasti, we are well okay, what oil we select for the oil for the abhyangam or doing podikiri, elakiri, sarcharadi, kuttam chukadi, chinchadi, shuddha bala, karpuradi oil. And next along with that we give a yoga basti. So yoga basti is we are all aware that whenever we are giving a basti, it destroys disease from the root. So that is the reason we are going to give a yoga basti. Now this yoga basti also, as we can differentiate, like usually we give dashamula air and the niroha basti, and anuvasan basti we can select oil anything from the matra basti. So like this third stage treatment protocol is being set. And then in that home care management, we say that intermittent bed rest. So we tell patient that usually first stage treatment lasts for 7 days, second stage treatment lasts for 15 days, and from 16th day onwards, so we can tell patient that now you can take intermittent bed rest. So we tell patient to join their job. They can resume their job again, but we tell them that okay, even if you are resuming your job, see to it that you get an intermittent break. Or we tell, initially we ask patient that okay, you can go to your job, but for the half day, see that you are not having any problem. And once you are done with the, I mean, if they are not having any trouble, then we increase their day-to-day routine activity. But at the same time, to continue with the hot fermentation, and even if they are resuming their job, this is a very important restriction, or we say that this is very important do's and don'ts, that we tell them not to sit more than 30 to 40 minutes. This is very, very, very important. And in between, like now, if when we say that not to sit for more than 30-40 minutes, you can tell patient, you get up from your place, stand for 5 minutes, and then again sit and start continue your work. They can remove their belt in between. When they are going for the job, they are sitting continuously, they can wear, but once they come home, they can remove and remove their belt. Traveling is allowed by four-wheeler, but not very long distance. But again, two-wheeler traveling is no. Exercise wise, we start teaching them spine strengthening and rehabilitation exercises. Now when patient comes to us in the subacute IVDP or in the chronic case of the IVDP, according to the examination, we must decide a protocol, like they are coming into the stage of they have a pain, swelling, or it is just the radiating pain, or it is just during the movement they are doing. So which avastha they are coming, according to that we can select, we can start the treatment. Say for example, when patient is coming, patient is not in a severe pain, but they are having still 40-50% problem is still present, 40-50% symptomatically problem is still present, then we can start from the stage 2, that is like kati basti. Because usually I do end up getting calls from my colleagues that okay, the so and so patient is there, so what will you suggest, that should I go for kati basti or should I go for the snehan swedan, should I go for the sashtik pinda swed? In this kind of a cases, according to the stage, whether there is am avastha present or it is just we see that there is no am avastha, it is pure vataj condition is there, accordingly we can select the protocol from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Now, special involvement in the chronic IVDP is like chronic IVDP, when patient comes, it is clearly a dhatu kshaya avastha. So when there is a dhatu kshaya avastha, is that definitely there will be hardening of the disc will be there. Then disc function will be diminished. Along with that, there will be, because this the nerve impingement is there long term. Then because of that, the involvement of the myotomes will be there, and where there will be weakness of the lower limb. So medicine, in terms of the when we are prescribing medication, our aim is like dhatu portion balya. But when we are looking into the panchakarma upakram, apart from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, this upakram also we can think about, like piricil, where we pour oil, 3-4 liter of oil we vomit, and that the pouring of the oil is done on the lower limb. Or navrakiri is nothing but the sashtik pindasway. This is for the strengthening, because here we are not just focusing on the lumbosacral area, but along with the lumbosacral area we have to focus on the other area where there is a dhatu kshaya has happened in terms of muscle wasting and all that thing. So we must treat, not only treat lumbosacral region, but we must also focus on treating a muscle another area where there is a muscle wasting and all that thing. And when we are looking for the rejuvenation thing, we can go for a kshirvasti or yapanvasti. Now, whenever we are treating this kind of IVDP cases, we must educate patient for the maintenance medication and procedure. Now, when we say about maintenance medication for the long term, then it is not like we do not aim to give a kashayam or guggulu for the long term. Because if we open Vata Vyadhi Chikitsa chapter, then apart from Sahacharadi kashayam, there are no kashayam mentioned into the text. Like if we are looking into the Charak Samhita or Brihatrai, usually they have given more options for the oil. So that means that ki maintenance medication should be in terms of internal sneha. We can give them, we can ask a patient to take castor oil 1 teaspoon or 5 ml, 10 ml every day in the night. Or we can give, as I told, Sahacharadi 21 soft gel capsule, or Gandha Tailam, Cytilon, Servilon. All this is a maintenance medication. Never leave IVDP patients without any maintenance medication and procedure. We must educate patient that this is a kind of a problem where it where it might recur. So to prevent the reoccurrence, we must educate them. Because if we look at the procedures also, and we look into the dinacharya also, abhyangam and svedana has to be done with the swastha purusha also. But due to our fast life and due to our due to very fast life, we are just skipping all this swastha what they have given dinacharya. We are skipping one by one. We are not doing gandush, we are not doing abhyangam and all these things. So we must educate patient that okay, you can apply every day, you can do some local application of the oil, Sahacharadi oil or Shuddha Bala oil on that lumbosacral area to more and more strengthen that area. Like that, or we can tell the patient to Varsha Rutu, we can tell patient that you have since you have come across with this problem, it's better next year, even though you don't have any problem, to maintain your health, you can do this Varsha Rutu Basti, you can go for these procedures, or once in 10 days, once in 15 days, you must do Snehan Swedan or some of the other kind of a Panchakarma Upakram. So along with that, when we are treating IVDP cases, most important non-pharmacological advice is we must educate patient for the future also, that we should not you avoid lift heavy weight more than 10 kg, that is 5 kg in one hand, 5 kg in another hand. Then avoid sitting, standing, walking for prolonged period, like that is sitting is compulsory for 30-40 minutes, or we say that ki more than 1 hour, 2 hours. Once you are perfectly all right, still keep it in mind that you had this particular problem, so you should avoid sitting more than 1 or 2 hours. In between you take a break, in between you get up, take a walk, in between you stand, and then again you can sit. So this is very important advice. Avoid bending in the forward position and avoid twisting movement. So we must train patient how to lift something. See, now when we say patient that don't bend forward, that doesn't mean that they are not gonna bend forward, because at one or the other point they will need to pick up something from the floor. So that time we must educate that bend from the knee, bend your knee first and keep your spine straight and lift something from the floor. Do not end up bending from the waist. Avoid sitting on the floor. So this is also again very important. We should tell patient not to sit on the floor to avoid future reoccurrence. We can tell patient that keep a big one cushion on the floor, and then on top of that you can sit. As I mentioned, teach correct pattern of forward bending, use of the lumbosacral support. If a patient is going to travel long distance, then we must tell patient to use a lumbosacral belt during the travel. Like if they are going to travel by car continuously for 10 to 12 hours, then we can always advise patient that initial 3-4 hours you don't wear belt, but after that, if you feel little stress on your back, to support your back muscles, you can wear your lumbar belt. So we must tell patient to carry your lumbosacral belt also. And exercise in terms of yogasana to strengthen the spine and abdominal muscles. We can advise them the yoga and exercise in the later phase once we are done with all the treatments. So what do I conclude with my presentation is a protocol-based approach definitely help to prevent surgery in lumbar disc prolapse, but at the same time, it helps to give a significant symptomatically relief with the long-lasting cure for a lumbar disc prolapse. It's not that we can just prevent symptoms now for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. No, we can prevent it for lifelong also if we have a proper protocol-based approach. Thank you for listening patiently. Yes.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Anyone, किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो आप पूछ सकते हैं. माइक अनम्यूट करके पूछ लीजिएगा.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर.
हाँ, मुझे एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था कि जो आपने स्टेज 1, 2 और 3 जो मैनेजमेंट बताया, तो जिस तरीके से जो पेशेंट है उसके लिए स्टेज 1 और स्टेज 2 और स्टेज 3 डिसाइड करके एक ही प्रोटोकॉल फॉलो करना, नॉट ऑल द प्रोटोकॉल फॉर ऑल पेशेंट.
हाँ, मतलब से फॉर एग्जांपल पेशेंट अगर आपके पास में अक्यूट कंडीशन में आता है, देन स्टेज 1, स्टेज 2, स्टेज 3 वी कैन फॉलो. बट अगर पेशेंट आपके पास में सब अक्यूट कंडीशन में आ रहा है, then during that particular case you can decide the protocol कि कौन से स्टेज में आ रहा है. मतलब जो आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा कि एक ही स्टेज फॉलो करना है, नो. अगर अक्यूट में आ रहा है तो अपना तीनों मोटो है. पहला तो उनका पेन रिलीव करना है, उसके साथ में फर्दर नर्व रूट डैमेज करना, देयर शुड नॉट बी इन्वॉल्वमेंट ऑफ द फर्दर नर्व रूट. तो दैट इज स्टेज 1. तो स्टेज 1 में अपन क्या कर रहे हैं कि वो जो डिस्क है जिसके ऊपर बल्ज आया है, प्रोट्रूजन आया है, या जो न्यूक्लियस पल्पोसस बाहर आया है, उसको we want to make them travel it back to its original position, right? सेकेंड स्टेज की बिकॉज ऑफ दिस ट्रॉमा, अभी क्या होता है कि जब भी स्लिप डिस्क होता है तो स्लिप डिस्क की वजह से डिस्क के ऊपर सर्टेन स्ट्रेस इज देयर, सो डिस्क विल स्टार्ट गो इनटू द रिजॉर्प्शन. So that is why those who are suffering from lumbar disc prolapse in the future they end up coming with the low back pain again and again, or in the future they will develop a complication ki kind of a lumbar stenosis, something like that complication they will end up developing. Okay, so that is why we go into stage 2. अगर अक्यूट कंडीशन में आ रहा है तो स्टेज 1, स्टेज 2, स्टेज 3 सब करना है.
ओके.
तीनों अपना मोटो जो है अपना, व्हाट इज आवर मोटो, व्हाट इज आवर अप्रोच, गोल, तीनों को मतलब अभी जो पेशेंट आया है उसको पेन सिम्टोमेटिकली रिलीफ दिया, बट फ्यूचर रिकरेंस भी नहीं होना चाहिए, बिकॉज पेशेंट डजंट कम टू अस ओनली विद द कंप्लेंट कि मुझे अभी मेरा पेन है वो कम कर दो. इन केस अगर पेशेंट सर्जरी एडवाइज किया हुआ है और पेशेंट आता है, तो देयर मेन क्वेश्चन इज कि will you be able to avoid my surgery? That is one thing. Second thing कि it's not that कि आज सर्जरी अवॉइड करना है, will it be avoiding my surgery in the future also? तो अगर अपन उसका सिर्फ पेन रिलीव करेंगे बट रिस्टोरेशन ऑफ डिस्क फंक्शन नहीं करेंगे या कंप्लीट स्ट्रेंथनिंग नहीं करेंगे, तो ऑब्वियसली उनको फ्यूचर में कुछ कॉम्प्लिकेशन आएगा, से फॉर एग्जांपल विद इन 3 months और विद इन 6 months और विद इन अ ईयर आल्सो.
Okay.
Clear?
Three all the three protocol for the to cure totally.
हाँ, मतलब acute disc prolapse है तो all three protocols we are following.
Okay,
so we say अगर पेशेंट आता है स्लिप डिस्क का लेके विद ओपिनियन ऑफ की सर्जरी करना है, and they come ki already we are taking bed rest for 3 months, and now how long we need to take a bed rest, and whether to avoid surgery. In that condition, if we are following these 3 protocols, 3 stages treatment, then stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, so on an average it goes for 23 days. So we can tell patient that 7 days, first 7 days your pain will reduce 50 to 70%. Second stage your pain will be going down by 80 to 90%. Third stage you will go back to your normal routine activity.
Yes.
Because it's not that कि say symptomatically relief करोगे, but patient को अगर फिर से बैठने के बाद चलने के बाद वापस से वही पेन आ रहा है, that means we have not done with the treatment, no?
Yes,
so
yes.
patient needs to go back to its original life, active lifestyle. तो पेशेंट को आप बोल सकते हो कि ऑलरेडी आपने 1 महीना बेड रेस्ट किया है, तो फर्स्ट 7 days आई वांट अ कंप्लीट बेड रेस्ट फ्रॉम योर साइड. आफ्टर 7 days you can do your you can resume your job in between, and after 7 days के बाद में आप बैक टू द नॉर्मल लाइफ आओगे. बिकॉज स्पेसिफिकली कैसा होता है, जो हाउस वाइफ है, जैसे कि अभी हम लोग को खाना पीना सब बाहर से मैनेज कर रहे हैं, देन कब कुकिंग चालू कर सकते हैं, दिस ऑल प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम्स आर देयर.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And if patient means a chronic IVDP patient comes, then and Vata Javastha is there, then we should directly follow the stage 3 treatment.
Stage 2 and stage 3, anything you can opt. If you, when patient is coming into the subacute and majorly complaint is or the problem is located into lumbosacral area only, then you can go for stage 2. But at the same time, what as I mentioned, stage 2 is something like Kadivasti and Matra Basti. So you can do a permutation combination of Kadivasti and Yoga Basti if you feel ki along with that I should do some Shodhan, because there is the involvement of the Apanavayu is also there. Then we can go for Shodhan, that is like Kadivasti and Yoga Basti combination also we can do.
Okay, ma'am.
हेलो योग बस्ती कर्म काल योग, तो कर्म काल का कैसे मतलब देख सकते हैं मैम? हम कर्म कब करें स्टार्ट, काल कब कर सकते हैं, योग बस्ती कैसे स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं, किस कंडीशन में?
हाँ, ओके. योग बस्ती बेसिकली 8 दिन का होता है, बराबर है. योग बस्ती, काल बस्ती एंड कर्म काल एंड योग बस्ती. कर्म बस्ती 30, yes, कर्म बस्ती 30, 16 and 8 days. तो बहुत ज्यादा वातज इन्वॉल्वमेंट है, जैसे क्रॉनिक कंडीशन है, तो क्रॉनिक कंडीशन में 8 days ऑफ योग बस्ती might not be sufficient, so there we can go for the 16 days, or there we can go for 30 days also. अभी 30 days, obviously 30 days if you are planning a treatment, so 30 days patient might not come to us for 30 days, and there is a complication of doing a karma kala and yoga basti. Sorry, there is a complication, or rather we say sometimes we end up getting a patient ki we went for the treatment somewhere else, and there we have done a 15 to 16 days, मतलब वो सेंटर में 15-16 दिन हमारा बस्ती किया है, और उसके बाद हमारा सिवियर वेट लॉस हो गया है.
नीरो के बाद हो सकता है, नीरो के बाद
होता है. तो अगर इतना लंबा अगर अपन प्लान कर रहे हैं, देन वी नीड टू सी द अवस्था. वो अवस्था है उतना ज्यादा, अगर कंडीशन है उतना ज्यादा, स्रोतरोध है तो करना है. नहीं तो आइडियली व्हाट आई डू इज, इवन मतलब जैसे अभी मैंने बोला कि समझो कि मेरा ट्रीटमेंट प्रोटोकॉल 23 डेज का है, ठीक है, तो 23 डेज में पहले हम आम पाचन कर रहे हैं 7 दिन, बट अगर वही केस क्रॉनिक कंडीशन में आता है, तो इफ क्रॉनिक कंडीशन में आता है तो दैट इज कंप्लीटली धातुक्षय अवस्था। अभी धातुक्षय अवस्था है बट मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि वहां पे मुझे थोड़ा सा शोधन भी करना है, स्त्रोतोशोधन करना है। तो पहला मैं सिर्फ योग बस्ती दूंगी और उसके बाद में भले ही मैं 20 डेज 21 डेज या 24 डेज अगर मेरा ट्रीटमेंट चलता है तो उसमें फिर आइदर वी गो फॉर क्षीर बस्ती और यापन बस्ती, क्योंकि
जी
बाद में अपने को शोधन करना है।
ठीक है
रेयरली
मैम।
रेयरली कर्म एंड काल बस्ती बहुत रेयरली देते हैं, योग बस्ती ही
जी
प्रिफरेबली देते हैं। उसके बाद में बस्ती कंटिन्यू करना है तो आइदर वी गो फॉर अ मात्रा बस्ती डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कफज है या वातज है। अगर वातज है
जी
तो आप 80 ml 100 ml तक दे सकते हैं मात्रा बस्ती, 60 ml तक दे
जी
सकते हैं। और कफज लग रहा है अपने को तो वी कैन गो फॉर 60 ml 30 ml लाइक दैट वी कैन डिसाइड क्वांटिटी ऑफ ऑयल।
यस यस मैम। एक जैसे मात्रा बस्ती है हम मतलब लगभग हर वातज कंडीशन में दे सकते हैं ना, तो ऐसा तो
हाँ
उसमें तो अगर हम अनुवासन की जगह मात्रा बस्ती दें, क्योंकि कई बार क्या होता है पेशेंट है ना ना तो उसको पथ्य पथ्य का कई बार नहीं ध्यान रखता वो, तो उसमें
राइट
कॉम्प्लिकेशन होने के चांस नहीं है। तो मैं
यस
इसलिए
हाँ
पूछ रहा था कि इन निरु
तो
और
इसीलिए
अनुवासन से
मैंने बोला ना। हाँ बोलिए। हाँ निरू और अनुवासन में
को छोड़ के मात्रा बस्ती अकेली प्रेफर करें तो उससे काफी रिजल्ट आ सकते हैं क्या?
अगर आपको ऐसा लग रहा है कि वहां पे स्त्रोतरोध नहीं है, जैसे पेशेंट
जी
को सिर्फ मैकेनिकल मतलब बाकी कोई संप्राप्ति नहीं है वहां पे,
जी
आपको कोई वहां पे पक्वाशयगत वात का या फिर अर्श का कोई संप्राप्ति नहीं है, पेशेंट
हाँ
एकदम
जी
यंग है और उनको पहली ही बार ऐसा हुआ है और स्पेसिफिकली आपको पता है कि ये उन्होंने गलत कर लिया उसके लिए, एंड व्हेन वी गो इनटू द हिस्ट्री अपन देखते हैं कि उनका लाइफस्टाइल वगैरह सब अच्छा है, खाना पीना सब हेल्दी है, तो वहां पे शायद
ठीक है
अपने को
मैम।
शोधन की जरूरत ना पड़े और अपन सिर्फ मात्रा बस्ती भी दे सकते हैं। हाँ
ठीक है, अदरवाइज शोधन बस्ती ठीक है, वो आस्थापन वगैरह ठीक है
हाँ
मैम,
मतलब
थैंक
शोधन
यू सो
बस्ती
मच।
भी करते हैं, शोधन बस्ती भी
हाँ जी
करते हैं ना तो पेशेंट 8
हाँ
दिन के लिए पथ्य पालन करने के लिए तैयार होते हैं, बट वही अगर 15 दिन
हाँ
30 दिन का है ना तो शायद वो सोचते हैं
हाँ
कि अरे तो बैक का प्रॉब्लम है और मुझे पथ्य क्यों दे
हाँ
रहे हैं, वैसा होता है।
हाँ
मतलब इन
यस मैम,
टुडेज लाइफ
ऐसा
वी
होता
एंड
है।
अप सीइंग दिस।
और नॉर्थ इंडिया में तो सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम है मैम, ये हरियाणा
हम्म
से हूँ बेसिकली मैम, तो यहाँ तो लोग है ना मतलब बहुत कुछ ऐसा वो मतलब ये क्या कर रहा है एनीथिंग एल्स, तो इसमें ना वो भी सोचते हैं,
हाँ
तो
यस
इस
तो
करके
इसीलिए जैसा बोलिए।
हाँ तो उसमें फिर हम ये सिंपली उसको बोल देते हैं कि भाई 50 ml की सिरिंज लेके उसमें शतपुष्पा डाल के
हम्म
अपना घर पे ही मेडिकली वो कर सकते हो, ताकि उसमें कॉम्प्लिकेशन के चांस नहीं रहते मैम।
नहीं
तो वो
रहते ये।
हाँ डेली डेली पेशेंट नहीं आ पाता मैम, तो इस करके मैं आपसे पूछ रहा था मात्रा बस्ती प्रेफर करें या नहीं करें इस टाइम?
कर सकते हैं हमेशा ऑफ कोर्स कर सकते हो। आपको ऐसा लगता है कि
जी
अगर मुझे मात्रा बस्ती देना है बैक पेन के लिए, मतलब पेशेंट को
जी
लो बैक पेन है या स्लिप डिस्क का हिस्ट्री है, तो वहां पे मतलब
जी
स्पेसिफिक ऑयल जो बताया जैसे सहचरादि ऑयल है वो आपके साइड से आप दे सकते हो, सहचरादि ऑयल है, सिंधुवार आयरन तैलम है, तो पेशेंट खुद भी एनिमा ले सकता है घर पे।
जी जी, इसीलिए पूछ रहा था। और एक बात और मैम, जैसे निरू बस्ती के लिए हम स्टार्ट करें तो उसके लिए पोर्ट अवेलेबल नहीं होते आसपास मैम, तो उसको हम मतलब दिमाग से कैसे यूज करके कुछ ऐसा बना सकते हैं कोई मैकेनिकली कोई
यस बना सकते हैं ना, क्यों नहीं
इंस्ट्रूमेंट?
बना सकते। निरोह वस्ती इंस्ट्रूमेंट आप बात कर रहे हो ना, तो अभी जैसे
जी जी
समझो अभी यूजुअली अगर अपन मतलब हम तो ये प्रैक्टिकली करते भी थे, मैं अभी भी
हाँ जी
निरोह वस्ती मेरे क्लिनिक में नहीं यूज कर, सॉरी निरोह वस्ती पॉट नहीं यूज करती हूँ, मेरे पास निरोह
जी
वस्ती यंत्र है बट वो मैं
जी
कोई कंपनी से मंगाती हूँ। अभी प्रैक्टिकली
जी
जब अपने पास कुछ नहीं है तो अपन क्या करना है इसको, से
जी
फॉर एग्जाम्पल कि अगर दूध पैकेट आता है, अमूल का दूध है या मदर
जी
डेयरी है, कोई भी दूध पैकेट है उसमें 1 लीटर का
जी
दूध पैकेट है, तो वो 1 लीटर
हम्म,
का जो दूध पैकेट है उसको एक साइड से कट करना है, एकदम छोटा सा कट करो। अगर आपको पता है कि मुझे इसको आगे यूज करना है एज अ निरोह वस्ती उपक्रम, तो छोटा सा
जी
कट करके उधर से आप पूरा कंटेंट निकाल लो।
जी
ठीक है सॉरी, कट कर लो, प्रॉपर कट करो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। और
ठीक है
दूसरा जो एंगल है मतलब इट हैज गॉट अ 4 एंगल 4 कॉर्नर्स राइट, तो आपका
ठीक
जो
है
निरूह वस्ती यंत्र है उसको एक कॉर्नर से आप पुश करो, उधर से कट नहीं करना है, उसको थोड़ा सा प्रेशरली पुश करना है ताकि वो
हाँ हाँ
फट के वो बाहर आ जाएगा।
जी
और उसके बाद
ओके
वो जो 1 लीटर का बैग है उसमें आपके निरोह द्रव्य ऐड करो, वो जो लास्ट का जो जहां से आपने ऐड किया है उसको अच्छे से टाई करो और उसको पकड़ के
ओके
निरोह पुटक के जैसा आप पुश कर दो, क्योंकि
ओके
यही चीज अपने बुक में भी बताई हुई है। अभी जो निरोह पॉट एक्चुअली अपने बुक में जो मतलब आयुर्वेद के प्रिंसिपल में जो बताया उसमें निरोह पॉट नहीं है,
नहीं है।
वहां पे बताया है कि आपका आप जब
बैल की
निरोह
बस्ती
बस्ती देते
वगैरह।
हो, हाँ,
जी मैम,
तो
वो बैल की बस्ती वगैरह देख रखी है वहाँ।
यस
तो
यस यस, तो निरोह बस्ती जब देते भी हो तो टाइम जो लगता है वो बहुत कम
जी
होना चाहिए। जबकि अपन निरोह पॉट से देते हैं तो कभी कभी 10 मिनट
वो
15 मिनट
टाइम
ऐसे
ज्यादा
ही
लगता
पकड़
है।
के खड़े हो जाते हैं अपन।
जी जी, जैसे ड्रिप के लिए यूज होते हैं ऐसे, मतलब फिर उसमें टाइम लगता है, तो
हाँ,
इसलिए
ड्रिप
पूछ रहे
मेथड,
हैं।
यस, ड्रिप मेथड अगर आपको यूज करना है तो निरोह का पॉट यूज कर सकते हो। मतलब से फॉर एग्जांपल कोई बैक पेन या डिस्क प्रोलेप्स का केस है और उसमें उनको हार्ट अटैक का हिस्ट्री है, तो जहाँ पे अपने को कार्डियो प्रोटेक्शन का भी ध्यान रखना है, तो वहां पे अगर
जी
फोर्सफुल अपान वायु का गमन होता है तो शायद वो हार्ट के ऊपर, हार्ट की गतियों के ऊपर प्रॉब्लम ला सकता है, तो वहां पे वी कैन गो फॉर द ड्रिप मेथड, या अपन बस्ती कर सकते हो आप, या कोई
ठीक
दशमूल निरोह क्षीर बस्ती कर सकते हो, स्लोली स्लोली दो आप उसको।
ठीक है मैम।
या
थैंक यू
आपका,
मैम। मैम आप
हाँ,
आपसे लेटर ऑन कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं मैम, कभी
यस
भी।
यस यस, देखो मैंने मेरे प्रेजेंटेशन में दिया था कांटेक्ट नंबर, लास्ट लेक्चर में
जी
भी
मैम।
दिया था, आप डॉक्टर रजत से
जी
भी ले सकते हो कांटेक्ट नंबर।
ठीक
आपका कोई भी
ठीक है मैम।
क्वेरी है आप व्हाट्सअप कर दो, मैं आपका आंसर कर
ओके
दूंगी
मैम।
क्वेरी।
ठीक है मैम, थैंक यू
ठीक है,
सो मच मैम।
वेलकम।
और किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है? ओके मैम, सेशन को यहीं समाप्त करते हैं। थैंक यू मैम फॉर
ओके
दिस
ओके,
वंडरफुल सेशन।
सिर्फ एक चैट में एक किसी
आपको
का तो क्वेश्चन है, एक मिनट, हाँ, चैट में एक किसी का क्वेश्चन है कि बाय पंचकर्मा डिस्क पल्प गोस टू इट्स प्लेस, ये स्टूडेंट टू एवरीवन डाला है, कोई नाम नहीं दिख रहा है यहाँ पे। तो यस, अभी मैंने यहाँ पे मेडिसिन पार्ट, मेरे प्रेजेंटेशन में मैंने मेडिसिन का पार्ट मैंने इन्वॉल्व किया है, बट यूजुअली मेरे पास जो पेशेंट्स रहते हैं वो बोलते हैं कि हम लोग ऑलरेडी 1 महीना 2 महीना 3 महीना मेडिसिन खा के बोर हो गए, अगर आप मुझे बिना कुछ मेडिसिन का दे सकते हो, बिना कुछ मेडिसिन का ठीक कर सकते हो तो भी मुझे चलता है। तो यूजुअली स्टेज 1 स्टेज 2 स्टेज 3, मतलब स्टेज 1 स्टेज 2 आई डोंट एंड अप गिविंग मेडिसिन, या फिर मेरा पंचकर्मा ट्रीटमेंट जब तक चल रहा है, से फॉर एग्जांपल 23 डेज का पंचकर्मा ट्रीटमेंट चल रहा है, तो फिर मैं उनको कोई मेडिसिन नहीं देती हूँ। जब ट्रीटमेंट खत्म होता है, एंड एज आई मेंशन इन माय लास्ट स्लाइड की मेंटेनेंस मेडिकेशन एंड कर्म, तो मेंटेनेंस मेडिकेशन के तौर पे फिर हम स्नेह मेडिसिन चलाते हैं, मतलब स्नेह पान वाला जो मेडिसिन है, इंटरनल स्नेह वाला, तो वहां पे फिर सहचरादि का 21 है, लंबोटेन, साइटोलोन, वो सब मेडिसिन चलाते हैं। दूसरा कि बाय पंचकर्मा डिस्क पल्प गोस टू इट्स प्लेस, यस, अभी जब आप अगर प्रॉपर होम मैनेजमेंट बताओगे, जैसे कंप्लीट बेड रेस्ट करना है, कंप्लीट बेड रेस्ट करते हैं तो उससे जो प्रेशर आ रहा है डिस्क के ऊपर वो रिजॉल्व होता है, तो बॉडी हैज गॉट सेल्फ हीलिंग टेंडेंसी ऑल्सो, अपने को बॉडी में कहीं पे भी कट हो लगता है तो इट हील्स बाय इटसेल्फ, इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट कि एवरी टाइम वी एंड अप पुटिंग सम ऑफ द अदर मेडिकेशन, तो बॉडी को सेल्फ हीलिंग टेंडेंसी रहता है तो वो ऑटोमेटिक रिजॉल्व होता है। बिफोर द ट्रीटमेंट, आफ्टर द ट्रीटमेंट, एमआरआई के रिपोर्ट में वी हैव ऑब्जर्व कि होता है, इट्स नॉट दैट कि नहीं होता है। एंड चैट में मैं मेरा व्हाट्सएप नंबर ऐड कर रही हूँ तो आप नोट कर लो। हेलो, हाँ रजत जी, वी कैन कंक्लूड आई थिंक सो।
हेलो। हाँ जी।
यस,
ओके मैम, थैंक्स टू ऑल ऑफ यू टू लिसन फॉर लिसनिंग पेशेंटली। आप सभी को इसकी रिकॉर्डिंग हमारे यूट्यूब चैनल पे मिल जाएगी। ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
ओके, थैंक यू।